Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Bobby, aka Paginator, and I'm here with a spoiler-free review of My Contrary Mary by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows, otherwise known as the Lady Janies. If you're not familiar with the other books these three ladies have written, they have three other books, and they're all historical / literary with hilarious twists. We have My Lady Jane, which is a take on the Lady Jane Grey who ruled England for 9 days. My Plain Jane, which is a Jane Eyre redo, retelling, and My Calamity Jane, which is Calamity Jane in the Wild West. All of those have paranormal twists and turns in them as well. And then we have My Contrary Mary. So in my Lady Jane, we're introduced to two groups of people, the Verities and the Edians. These would be comparable to Catholics and Protestants if we're looking at European history. Because with the Tudors, Mary, Queen of Scots, who this is centered around, as well as the Lady Jane Grey, Queen Elizabeth, the Tudors, that whole situation, there was a great deal of upheaval in the world of religion. For a long time, all of the Western European world was Christian, specifically Catholic. And it was like the choice. But then when King Henry VIII created the Church of England in order to be able to get divorced, there became a great divide in the society. And so what these ladies have done is, instead of dividing on religious lines, they're dividing on Edians and Verities. Edians are people who are able to shapeshift into animal forms, and Verities believe in the true form of humans and not changing into animal form. And these two groups hate each other. So, bringing us into this book, Mary, Queen of Scots, is living in France. If you didn't know, she lived in France for most of her life, or a large portion of it anyway. She was sent there, betrothed to her cousin Francis, and sent to live with the royal family in France, and didn't come back to Scotland until later. There's a lot of history, me being a history nerd and stuff, I could really dive into that, but let's stick to this book. Okay, so we meet Mary, who is living in France, which is a Verity country, but unbeknownst to almost everyone there, she is an Edian. She can transform into a mouse. Now, her cousin Francis, that she's betrothed to, knows, and her 4 ladies-in-waiting, all of whom are also named Mary. There are a lot of female characters in this book, very few female names. We have several Catherines. At one point they refer to them as an abundance of Catherines, which made me laugh out loud, thinking of the John Green book. But there we have Mary, Queen of Scots, and then we have the 4 Marys who are ladies-in-waiting, and so each of them go by nicknames to not get confused. Mary takes turns narrating chapters. Frances, her cousin, that Mary's betrothed to, takes turns. And then our third character is Ari, which is short for Aristotle. She is the daughter of Nostradamus. Nostradamus, the famous seer, predictor of things, is living in the royal palace and predicting for the king and queen of France. Ari, his daughter, is seemingly going to take over as that job, but her predictions are odd, and the people around her don't understand them. Of course, maybe, or us as the reader, like in our modern times, understand what these predictions are, and they're hilarious. Largely related to movies of our day. For example, when someone says, "I'll be back," Ari goes, "I had a vision of someone saying I'll be back. Was this guy like with this dark jacket and strange things on his eyes?" And like, just talking about the Terminator, like, it was pretty funny. There's another one that's absolutely hilarious, and I kind of don't want to like spoil all of them for you, but one of the other predictions she makes is to do with another very, very well-known movie And I laughed and laughed. Like, I had to stop reading because I was laughing so hard when this prediction came up, like the vision of hers. Anyway, she's really good at making potions, and Queen Catherine, which is Francis's mother, is evil. If you've seen the show Reign, they did a really good job of portraying Catherine. Like, Megan Follow, who plays her, played her brilliantly as like an evil, conniving, scheming witch of a person, which she was. And she is in this book as well. She is a villain, and she's always out for herself. And so she's scheming in the background. There are all kinds of political intrigues going on. And Mary, when she takes her mouse form, she sneaks into the queen's room. She sneaks around the palace in different ways to try to find out information. So we have Mary hiding a secret, being raised among all these French people. We have Francis being nervous about possibly being king someday, really loving Mary, like falling for her in a romantic way, but feeling sure that she doesn't feel anything more than just family love for him. We have Ari trying to like develop her potion skills and as well as her vision skills, and she is given an opportunity by Queen Catherine to become another lady-in-waiting to Queen Mary. I feel like I'm not explaining the plot, like the action of this very well. How do I explain this without spoiling things? Okay, so let me say this. King Henry, which is Francis's father, the King of France, declares that Francis and Mary should be getting married in 5 days. He has his own reasons, his own agenda for doing so, and that sets a chain of events in motion that kind of upheave everybody's worlds. Some people won't make it out of this book alive. Some people will turn into animals. Some people will not. There's travel across Europe. There are lots of different political and historical figures that we meet, and it is really fun. I tabbed every time that I laughed as I read this book, and you can see how many tabs I did. However, I kind of don't think I laughed too easily in this book. They're just really funny authors. They are hilarious, and I recommend any of the books that they've written, all the Jane ones, as well as this one, My Contrary Mary. It's oh, so good. So good. Yeah, so is there anything else I can tell you without like spoiling things? No. I can't really tell you much else, but I promise you this is worth it. Even if you're not like a super big fan of historical fiction, you will like these characters just because of their personalities and who they are. Like, read this book or listen to it. Like, the audiobook is available as well in your usual audiobook platforms, and yeah, read it. So that's it for me today. I want to wish you all a wonderful and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.